Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like wanting to hear my take on marketing, but getting my POV on markers. Which, by the way, I favor chisel-tipped low-odor markers because 1, they glide with a velvety resistance, and 2, they deliver impeccably saturated lines. Of course, it all depends on what kind of whiteboard I'm writing on and if the glossiness is at a 60%.
Okay, Marcus, I think that's enough.
You wouldn't settle for just any marketing podcast, so don't settle for any insurance. Get the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
I'm Gayle Troberman.
And I'm Marcus Collins.
I've built a career in marketing and led advertising and marketing strategy for the biggest brand names in tech and media, from iHeart to Microsoft and more.
I teach marketing at the Ross School of Business, University of Michigan, and I've spent my entire career at the intersection of culture and commerce. Now, we've heard from CMOs, we read all the think pieces, but we haven't heard enough from the people that brands are actually trying to reach. So today, Gayle and I are joined by marketing students at the University of Michigan, Go Blue, and I think they're going to bring something really special to this conversation that most boardrooms are actually missing. Gayle, the competition to be in and around live sports has never been more intense. But as the commercial stakes rise, so does the noise. It's just the nature of things. So what does the market say about the return on all that spend? And more importantly, what does it mean for the fan experience?
Are brands enhancing the sports experience, or does it feel a little bit more like brands are starting to invade our free time, our beloved pastimes, our sports viewing time? And how does it actually feel for the fans?
Gayle, you and I, we are joined by two of my favorites. They're all my favorites. They're like my kids. Like, it's like you don't have favorite kids, but you got some favorites. Here are two of my favorites we have joining us here. We have Cami Escobar and Daniel Strike, who's going to be with us to give us a sense of what the market says. Cami, Daniel, welcome to the pod.
Hi, Marcus. Thanks for having us.
Hey, Professor Collins, Gayle. Yeah, thank you for having us on the podcast. Excited to be here.
Of course, of course. All right, so let's just start from the start. What does it take for a brand to break through, in your mind, to stand out when sponsoring major sporting events? And how can they make their market become synonymous with the games and the matches that you watch and that you love? Essentially, what do brands got to do to break out in this space that we call sport?
You know, it's not just about logo placement on the field or in the arena, but you kind of have to institutionalize yourselves within the sport. So a couple examples, like when I think of the Super Bowl, I think of the Gatorade shower at the end of the game. When I think of Red Bull, I can visualize their daredevil athletes. When I think of Wimbledon, I think of Rolex. So in order for a brand to become truly synonymous with the games, you first have to know your brand proposition and purpose, and then you can target specific sports and audiences that truly align with it.
The Gatorade example, Daniel, is so right on because they've done a couple things amazingly well, right? They've committed just like the fans do to show up for every game. They're always there, right? And then they carved out, which I think so few brands find places and partners to do that with. They carved out their thing. They became known for a thing, a moment. And it's just super fun and random and it feels real, right? It just feels like, hey, Gatorade showed up and they celebrated with you in a big, unexpected way that became expected.
I mean, personally, I come from a Hispanic household. So for me, when I think of a big sporting event, it's always the World Cup. And based on that, I think what's really important is that it's culturally relevant as well. And I think what Adidas does really well with the World Cup is that not only do you see it everywhere, it's in the merchandise as well. Like I remember making my parents buy me like the original jersey of James Rodriguez, and it needs to be like the Adidas original manufacturer, and we want the soccer ball. So then itself, you're not only like wanting to be part of this experience as a fan, but you're then purchasing what they're advertising. So I think that's very successful. When I think of the World Cup, it's automatically synonymous with Adidas.
I mean, what you were saying there, Cami, you're paying for something, but you're earning something too.
Yeah, it's so
Right.
interesting, right? Like you use the Adidas, right, example. Would it make as much sense if it were a sports drink or a bank? Would you still want that merch?
I think it has to be strategic. I mean, recently for the Winter of Olympics, Ralph Lauren did a collaboration and outfitted all of the athletes. And I think for me, you would never originally think like, oh, Ralph Lauren, like athletic wear, but they did it in a way that was so strategic where, it was the opening ceremony. So you see them all dressed up and then you think, oh, I might not be an Olympian, but I want to look like one. So I want to buy these pieces and also be stylish at the same time. And I know Skims, Kim Kardashian's brand, did that for the Summer Olympics. And I personally already wear Skims. It kind of gives you a part as a fan to be part of the experience and say like, oh, like I'm wearing the same thing as this like Olympic gold medalist is. So I feel like I'm connected more than just watching them as a viewer.
How far does that stretch, Cammie? For instance, I think Bounty did an activation at the Super Bowl, and you go, okay. I mean, I guess we spill things when we eat. We're watching the game, but like, how much elasticity does that have?
I don't know how many people are going to watch a game and say, oh, I'm going to buy Bounty over the generic brand. So I think there is a point where marketers can say, okay, how relevant is this? And is it going to give us a return rather than maybe doing something a little bit more relevant where, I mean, Bounty what? Like you could be in so many different areas and it's not necessarily a sporting event where I think the money is worth it for them.
Poor Bounty.
Yeah, it's funny. My godson was talking to me recently, and he's a huge sports fan, and he was saying he's got his favorite jersey he wanted when he was visiting Europe. He bought the shirt, and it's got like a dating app sponsoring it, and it's like, God, I don't know that I want to rep that brand, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so Gayle, like you and I, we come from a different era, and we watch games a certain way. But like Cammie, Daniel, you all have been introduced to live events, live sporting events with a completely different schema. So considering the world you grew up in, it's inundated with always on social networking platforms, social media content coming your way. How do you view sporting events? Do you watch games? Are you
Yeah.
watching it from top to bottom? Are you jumping in and out? Are you just looking at the score?
Yeah. So, I mean, if it's my favorite teams, shout out Lions, Pistons, U of M football, basketball.
Yeah.
I always try to catch the games in full, especially recently with the Pistons being the best team in the NBA. I typically don't tune into a random regular season game. Like I would never watch, let's just say like the Hornets or Kings because I have no stake in that game. It doesn't interest me. But if it's like the playoffs or something, I will watch those random games because there actually is meaning to it, and you like to be a part of the moment, when Kevin Durant wins 2 finals MVPs or something like that, or LeBron 3-1 comeback. You want to be a part of it. You want to say, I sat there and I watched when the greatest player of all time made that 3-1 comeback and won the championship. So yeah.
I think it depends on the sport. Like when the World Series was going on and the Dodgers were playing really well, I watched every single game, but that was because I would make time for it. I think what really has helped me keep in touch with everything is TikTok and just Instagram. And I've been inundated with all of these different clips. And when the WNBA was, trending online, I'd never watched an NBA or a WNBA a game before. And then I started to tune in and, learn the stories behind the athletes and really be part of it. And then I started to watch the live game. So I think there's kind of like a two-prong part of this where like they're the sporting events that I was already passionate about growing up. And now I have a newfound passion for different events that I will want to tune in and watch full.
So if you guys, Cammie, Daniel, you're sitting on top of big pile of marketing money, right? Would you go sponsor like a team or a particular league, or would you go sponsor the athlete and try to tell backstories? Like, where would you put your money?
I think I would probably lean towards sponsoring the athlete because I think like if a certain team isn't doing well, they're not going to sell tickets. They're not going to get a lot of viewership. But if you sponsor a big athlete, no matter where they go, they will have fans following them.
To Daniel's point, I think a lot of people are very loyal to specific athletes. It doesn't matter what team they're on. I mean, that happened to me. I was a huge Enrique Hernandez fan at the Dodgers, and he got traded to the Red Sox, went back to the Dodgers, and I stayed loyal to him while also simultaneously being a Dodgers fan because you can't just completely leave the team that you love. But I would follow him and I would watch the Red Sox just because he was on the team. And I think that also goes that he himself is a personality. Same thing with a lot of these younger athletes that have access to social media and tap into that. They become more personable to fans, and you like follow them on TikTok or follow them on Instagram and know a little bit more about their lives. So you can make those brand and partnerships feel a little bit more organic and actually feel like they want to be part of it rather than, okay, they're getting paid to sponsor this product. And you can really make it make sense to the athlete and like their world of fans so that, you really get those sales in.
You go with the players because that's where the emotional connection is, right? Is there really a place for brands in this?
I think if the partnership makes sense, people will want to be a part of it. When I was younger, I was a gymnast and I was absolutely enthralled with Gabby Douglas. Anything Gabby Douglas did, I needed to do. Anything Gabby Douglas promoted, I needed to buy. I think I had 5 of her GK leotards, and that partnership makes sense. There's definitely a component where the sponsorship and the marketers need to see, is this going to make sense with our audience and their audience?
Gayle, I'll tell you what this reminds me of. Sometime I feel that he is me. Deep inside, that's what I want to be, like Mike. If I could be like Mike.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yep, the power of jingles. There's a magic to audio. It's so funny. Except that tends to be, Marcus, right, from our generation, more interruptive marketing.
That's right. Yeah. Disruptive marketing. We were accepting of it. That was just the status quo. That was the orthodoxy for us. It was like, we knew it was going to come.
You want to see the game for free. The brands support it and there are going to be ads. And it's still pretty much the paradigm, or do you guys see it differently?
There's bound to be timeouts, commercial breaks, all that stuff. But I think it's really interesting the time we're living in now, because during your guys' time, no shade, not calling you guys old,
like
but
that. Yeah,
you
guys didn't have.
We'll take it. We'll own it.
When it's a timeout or something, I don't really watch the ads that much unless it's a brand that I'm familiar with, but I'll tend to just go scroll on Instagram or talk with my friends who I'm watching the game with. I don't know if it's different for Cami, but...
No, I completely agree. Or I'll just be like looking at other games that are going on at the same time. As a sports watcher, you know that you're going to have timeouts, like what you said, Daniel, and there's going to be space for these brands to occupy, and it's kind of just expected. I think something like the Super Bowl, like you could never take away those TV spots. I think it's part of the experience of watching it. And I think a lot of the times there is some sort of conversation around who's sponsoring these events, doesn't make sense. And to the point too, like for some controversy for certain brands, sometimes it works for them. It's like, why are they here? Why are they paying this money to be a part of this? Doesn't make sense. Or if there's controversy behind that brand to begin with, like it gets people talking, and sometimes that's what certain brands need.
Speaking of controversy and like being relevant, how do you feel about sports betting?
So I'm personally not a fan of the sports betting ads. It definitely is a natural fit, but I think it's just become extremely oversaturated at this point. And I think it takes away from the integrity of the sport and the viewing experience itself. Like, I just want to watch the games. I don't want to hear about how I can earn a free $300 in bets. I like to just be able to watch the sport and just celebrate the athletes and not have any outside stakes in it.
I personally have no interest or any knowledge about sports betting. I've never been into it. I've had a couple of my guy friends, because I know ball, if some may say. I know ball about certain sports. So they're like, well, why don't you like bet on these games? And I'm like, I honestly have so many other ways to spend my money. And I'd rather, like to Daniel's point, just enjoy the game. If we lose, we lose. If we win, great. I think when it's getting shoved down people's throats, it's like, okay, we get it. People that are sports betting are already doing it and know what they're doing. So I think there might need to be a little strategy switch, because personally, to me, it's not working.
To your point, Gayle, this is sort of the saturation of disruptive marketing of yesteryear.
Yeah, I know.
Real talk, Cami. Can you recall a moment or a time where you saw an ad and some sort of frequency, some repetition where you were like, I think I'm gonna give that a shot now. Or, ooh, I really have a taste for McDonald's. I mean, essentially, are the ads working?
The brand awareness component is definitely relevant when you're showing up in these spaces and showing up multiple times. I think it gets to our point where our psychographics are different than our demographics. Like, I am a girl and I love sports, but I also love makeup and I love fashion and I love all these different things in hair products. So if you give me an advertisement for this new hair product that's going to make my hair be 10 times more voluminous, I might then go look at that product. Will a person who doesn't have hair look at that? Maybe not.
Get personal.
Fired, Gabby.
But what I'm saying is, like, you don't know exactly who's really watching these sports. Or I could just be a daughter of a father who loves to watch sports and I'm just sitting there watching them with him and don't tune in until I see this really innovative ad. So I think you really need to make those 30 seconds that you have relevant and like pungent for these like watchers to see and hear about you. And you might miss the mark or you might land a new customer. You never know. And I think that's the gamble these marketers take when they get these advertisement spots.
Gayle, validation for the marketing funnel. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe there's a there.
Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like wanting to listen to brilliant young marketing students drop insights on everything from music to gaming, but instead, you get a bunch of Gen X industry long haulers reading from their lengthy thought piece that they posted on their favorite B2B social channels this morning. This format is different from any other marketing podcast because we get to hear from the market about how things actually are. And together, you get our context with their perspective. You wouldn't settle for just any old marketing insights, so don't settle for any insurance. Get the real deal. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. As we see the WNBA blossoming and budding, of course, women's soccer has always been crushing. The women's Olympic hockey team just won gold. We could say women's sports are having a moment. Does any of this change? Does brand behavior, brand kinetics, and brand presence start to change at all in your mind when it comes to women's sports?
I've always watched more women's sports than I have male sports. I watch gymnastics, women's soccer, figure skating, women's skiing. I think the only male sport I really watch is baseball and sometimes men's male soccer.
I love it, Kevin. This is great. I love it.
So I think for me, it's more of now that there's more of a relevance for the greater community of people and society watching and tuning into these sports. There's obviously more benefits that these marketers see, and they see a larger price tag that's worth it for them. I think before there's always been the notion of, oh, well, no one watches the WNBA, no one watches women's sports. And it's not no one, it's just a smaller percentage of the population that they don't feel is enough to make the price tag of what it's going to be to spend this money on these advertisements. They don't see the return on that being worth it. And I think now that it's becoming more prevalent and more talked about, they're going to want to switch over, maybe not entirely, but spend more of what they already were on women's sport because it's becoming a thing. And I really hope it stays like that. I hope it's not just, the women's win gold. They've been winning gold. They've been having these moments. It's just now people are tuning in and making it a bigger point culturally. I mean, I get very passionate because, the men's U.S. hockey team won gold for the first time in 46 years. The women have been doing that for 46 years.
Exactly.
When it was introduced, it's been going on. It's just, I think it's one of those things where, as someone I don't think the advertisement should change. I just think there should be more of an investment and more of thought into what is being advertised. And I just think there should be more money in women's sports in general. And if the sponsorships are willing to do it because they see it's worth it now, better late than never.
Amen. Daniel, what say you?
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. I think that the female athletes work just as hard as the men and deserve to get the recognition and the fair compensation. So I'm all for brands sponsoring them, advertisements. But I think there's a little bit of a difference because when you're investing in things like the NBA and the NFL, I think it's more guaranteed. You have that scale, you have that audience. But when you invest in the women's sports, I think it's about supporting the long-term growth.
Yeah.
I think there's a big future in it. So I think it's important to get in now.
I love that delineation, Daniel. When you show up before it's a media opportunity,
Yeah.
then it signals that you actually care.
I was a Seattle Storm season 1 season ticket holder. But like brands that have a point of view or commit to a team and a league, if you're going to do it, get in early, carve out a place you can own, be a fan and show up with the fans.
Amen. Oh, that's good.
That brings it back to my original point about the brands that their messages stick are the ones that are institutionalized.
Mhm.
So if you have the opportunity to get in on, let's say, a WNBA team right now before it's about to pop off, and the value of that team increases tenfold, and your brand has grown along with it and stuck with it through thick and thin, then your brand just becomes associated with that team and you'll be the top of mind person.
I love it.
Yeah, I think the
brand.
prices, I was looking this up, I think the prices for like a spot in like a WNBA game are already up like almost 10x in the last couple of years. So it's growing fast. You know, you want to also see, Cammie, to your point, you want to see those athletes and those teams reaping the benefits
right.
and being able to afford more and get their due for the entertainment value they're bringing us too.
So let's get into the last segment. This is like where the rubber meets the road. 3 questions for you. Cammie, Daniel. Brand showing up on jerseys. Do you care or don't you care? Do you care? When we see brands on jerseys, are you like, ooh, I see you Maybelline with, I don't know, I thought Maybelline. I see you brand on said team. I now feel much more connected to you. Or are you like, meh, whatever? Or are you like, please stop, this is annoying?
Don't care.
Yeah, don't care.
Gayle, that's a hard one to tell brands.
Yeah. I think the athletes care a lot. They end up having to rep a brand in a very personal way, right? When you're wearing a brand.
What about college athletes showing up with brands? Considering the rise of NIL, I mean, some of your friends, your classmates, your roommates are probably student athletes. Do you care? Does it matter when you see brands and athletes showing up?
I do care.
I care.
I think,
yeah.
Say more.
I think it's one, if it's a college athlete, all credit to them. If they're making their money, now's the time when NIL is going big, so they can get money. And I think when you associate a person that you have enjoyed watching for a while with the brand, then it just creates a positive correlation and you're going to be more interested in the brand.
What say you, Cammie?
I think with college athletes, like you have a stronger connection to them as like you can see yourself, like they have a little bit more relevance to my life and more relatability. So when I see a college athlete promote something, is the first instinct like, oh, they're just getting paid? Yes. But then at the same time, like, okay, but why did they take that sponsorship? They probably have a bunch of other ones. And, you know, I also do want to support them to some extent, knowing that they're not getting paid the big bucks like pro athletes are, and they are bringing a lot of money to these schools and aren't necessarily getting any of that money themselves. So I think NIL is a great thing and a great opportunity for these athletes to capitalize on their talents and do it the right way with the brands that support them.
You don't do an NIL deal the same way you buy a spot in a playoff game, right? You go, hey, who is this human? Do they get us? Do we get them? And I think marketers spend a lot of time and energy. And when they do it right, they really do build long, ongoing relationships. And they become, I think more and more you see it's less like, here's a check, read this line. And it's a lot more like, who are you? What are you into? They're a lot more authentic.
Totally. Okay.
And collaborative.
Last question. Here we go. Do you care or don't care? This might hurt you a little bit, Cammie. ESPN dropped Sunday Night Baseball. I mean, Cammie, care or don't care?
I care.
So, this is tough for you, Cammie. I know you love women's sports, but it's also saying goodbye to the thing that you've been a part of your identity. Like, you love baseball. Care, don't care?
I do care, but it gets to the point where I care that they're dropping baseball and adding this new segment of women's sports. So now I can enjoy that a lot easier than it was before. I think for me, it was like, okay, I can only watch figure skating on the Olympics, NBC, and I can watch this on ESPN and watch this on another. So having that all accessible to me on ESPN, which I already have a subscription to because of baseball, if there's still a way for me to watch baseball, maybe not ESPN, I will still go and buy another subscription to watch baseball. I'm going to be loyal to that, but now it's kind of an additional part of my sports watching experience where now it's so much easier for me to watch these games that were harder for me to watch before, and gives other people opportunity and accessibility to watch these games, which I'm happy that they get.
That is an abundance mindset. That I'm not saying it isn't a binary. I'm widening the pie. I like that. Daniel, what say you? Care, don't care?
Yeah. So I'll say, sorry, America, but I don't care that they're dropping baseball because I don't watch baseball. I've never been a baseball guy.
It says good riddance. Gayle, how do you feel about this?
Ooh. Yeah, in case my dad listens, I think I have to be pro baseball here. Shout out to CBS that they're going to give a little more time to women's sports. But I think it's like all things, right? If you're a huge baseball fan, you got to show up and watch. So
I mean, you can't expect Cammie to hold the whole league down. Like, come on. Like,
yeah. Do you have a lot of friends in your demo who are also MLB fans?
Yeah, quite a bit of my friends
Awesome.
have been drafted to the minors and the major league. So growing up, whether I liked it or not, had to learn about baseball. My best friend plays baseball. He's at the Marlins now. So
Love it.
whether or not I wanted to watch it, I had to. I was at every game. And I think now that I've learned so much about it and been part of it my whole life, I love it.
I love that. Again, wake up brands. Don't stereotype. You've got young, Hispanic, female fans of MLB, and that's probably not your go-to in your head for who you're targeting there. So
you have broken every brief, Cammie. Every brief.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah. Less pharma ads. Right?
More shampoo.
Yeah.
As we wrap up here, there's some things that really stuck out to me. Said one, you got to get in early, right? I love that, Daniel, way you put it, like you got to be institutional. You got to be like an institution inside the thing such that you carve out your own space, not only your own physical space, but your own cognitive space. It has to be contextual. The context matters, right? The people matter. The connection matters. You can't just be a part of it. You got to contribute to it in some meaningful way.
I love that. Commit. Right? Get in early, commit to whether it's the athlete, whether it's the league, whether it's a team. If you're going to be a good brand partner, you got to show up every game and show up when they're winning and when they're losing, just like the fans.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Daniel, Cammie, you made me proud. Thank you so very much for blessing us with your insight. And honestly, I mean, I don't know about you, Gayle, but I actually feel smarter. Like the tables have turned.
Every time we do Market Says, I learn more than a thing or two.
It's the best.
Thank you guys for making us smarter.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.
And thank you to all our listeners joining us here. We're so grateful for you. Look forward to having you next time you're with us.
Market Says is a Bubbler Media iHeart podcast production.
I'm Rashad Tabakuwala,
And I'm Drew Ioni. We're from the Athena Project, and we want to talk about our new podcast.
called Unbossing.
Unbossing?
Yes, unbossing. You may have heard me say on many occasions, Drew, that the future doesn't fit in the containers of the past. Well, in this series, we're going to talk about one specific container that needs to be radically reshaped, and that is the shape of leadership today.
Indeed, Rashad, it does feel like everything is changing. New technologies, AI, new expectations, new ways of working.
Everything true, excepting the bosses of today.
And we're going to seriously take them apart.
And the way we're going to take them apart is we're going to unboss them.
Each week, we'll sit down with the most badass bosses in business and tech and talk about what they needed to unlearn in order to succeed again.
That's right, Drew. If success is about learning, prolific success is about unlearning and writing the new rules for new times.
If you're a leader and you're not understanding why you need to unboss, then you've got to stop talking and start listening to Unbossing.
Unbossing is a Bubbler Media iHeart podcast production, and it's on the iHeart app or wherever you get your podcasts. If you're not in the conversation, you're not in the game.